It's one of the biggest mysteries in American history. What happened to Jimmy Hoffa? Hard to believe, but it's been nearly 5 decades, almost 50 years, since the labor leader disappeared. For nearly half a century, one question echoed across America's underground. Where is Jimmy Hoffa? From mob secrets to government silence, his disappearance became more than just a mystery. It became a legend. The famous and powerful labor leader went missing on July 30th, 1975. But now, after decades, scientists have finally found Jimmy Hoffa's body. Authorities are indicating they're making new progress in the search, this time under a bridge in New Jersey. Maura Barrett has more. A playing card, a dog named Moxie, and a forgotten patch of ground in Milwaukee have reignited the case with chilling clarity. The man vanished on the morning of July 30th, 1975. The air was hot as Jimmy Hoffa, dressed in a navy sport coat and crisp white shirt, left his modest home in Bloomfield Township, Michigan. His slick-back hair gleamed in the morning light, reflecting the confidence of a man who had once held great power. Hoffa, former president of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, was once a man whose every move commanded the loyalty of millions. That morning, with renewed determination, he set out for a meeting he believed would help him regain his influence, a conversation intended to clear the air with figures tied to the underworld. His destination was the Machu's Red Fox, a quiet, upscale restaurant in Bloomfield Hills, a suburb of Detroit. But Jimmy Hoffa never returned from that meeting. By that evening, his Lincoln Continental was found sitting alone in the restaurant's parking lot. The engine was cold, the keys were missing, and Hoffa's wallet, briefcase, and other belongings were gone. The scene was disturbingly clean. No signs of a struggle, no witnesses, and no security footage to offer answers. It was as if Hoffa had vanished into thin air. His disappearance caused a media storm and sparked one of the most extensive, high-profile manhunts in American history. At the time, Hoffa was already a controversial figure. He had risen from humble beginnings to become one of the most powerful men in the country through his leadership of the Teamsters. But his power came with scandal. His ties to organized crime, convictions for bribery and fraud, and relentless desire to reclaim leadership of the Teamsters made him a target. As much as Hoffa had fought for workers, he also symbolized corruption and criminal influence. Rumors began immediately. Theories about what happened to Hoffa spread quickly. Some believed he was buried under the concrete of Giants Stadium in New Jersey. Others thought he was thrown into an industrial shredder or sealed in a steel drum at the bottom of the Great Lakes. Over the years, many leads came and went, each one just as uncertain as the last. In 1982, after years without evidence, Hoffa was declared legally dead. But even that legal closure didn't end the mystery. Hoffa's disappearance became bigger than his life. It became part of American culture. He was the subject of books, articles, documentaries, and even portrayed fictionally in Martin Scorsese's 2019 film The Irishman. Still, one question remained. Where is Jimmy Hoffa's body? Decades of searching brought dead ends and desperation. From horse farms in Michigan to landfills in New Jersey, every lead, no matter how credible, was investigated thoroughly. The FBI launched multiple operations in its determination to solve the case. But with each excavation, the mystery only grew deeper. In the most high-profile searches, the world watched, hoping a piece of lost American history might finally be found. Helicopters flew above search sites, casting shadows over teams digging through the earth. Machines and people worked side by side, while news crews documented every shovelful of dirt, every flicker of hope. Yet, despite the spectacle, the result was always the same: nothing. One of the most infamous of these excavations occurred in 2006, when the FBI, responding to an anonymous tip, arrived at the Hidden Dreams horse farm in Milford Township, Michigan. The tip was intriguing, suggesting that Hoffa's remains had been hidden in a barn shortly after his disappearance. The public watched anxiously as excavators dug through the soil and forensic teams carefully sifted the earth, searching for any trace of evidence. But when the digging ended, the farm remained silent. No human remains were found. There was no sign of Hoffa. It was just another false lead, a reminder of how elusive the truth had become. As the years passed, the urgency around Hoffa's disappearance began to fade, yet the case never lost its hold on the public imagination. Cold case teams were formed, bringing together experts who used advanced forensic technology, hoping to uncover the key that had long escaped investigators. Despite their best efforts, the search kept returning to the same point: unanswered questions and an unsettling absence of answers. Witnesses who might have shed light on Hoffa's fate slowly disappeared with time. Investigators once central to the case grew older, some retiring, others passing away. With each year, the chance of solving the case seemed to diminish. The world began to move on. Hoffa, a man who once held national attention, was fading into memory, becoming a symbol of unsolved mystery. Yet, quietly, something unexpected was developing. A group of dedicated volunteers began building a new case. They were not bound by the restrictions of the FBI or law enforcement. Instead, they worked freely, motivated by the same desire for truth that had sparked interest in the case decades earlier. They were determined not to let Hoffa's story fade away. Unnoticed by the public, they gathered evidence and developed a theory that would eventually reignite hope. By 2022. The story of Jimmy Hoffa's disappearance had become something of legend, an American mystery surrounded by conspiracy theories and folklore. Public interest was renewed when a documentary emerged, making a bold claim. Hoffa's body had been buried under the Pulaski Skyway in New Jersey, a location at the heart of mob activity. The documentary included compelling elements. An anonymous, credible tip, reports of irregularities in the soil, in the site's proximity to known criminal areas. The claim appeared credible and captured public attention. The FBI, recognizing the growing interest, launched a serious investigation. The area near the Pulaski Skyway was thoroughly excavated. Drones filmed the scene from above, and ground-penetrating radar was used to search below the surface. For weeks, the story dominated headlines. People speculated, could this finally be it? Would Hoffa's resting place be found? The investigation played out like a suspenseful drama. News outlets broadcast live from the scene, and the world waited for a breakthrough. It felt as though the mystery was on the verge of being solved. But as the digging progressed, the result was disappointing. Despite the time and resources spent, nothing was found. No human remains. No sign of Hoffa. The public responded with disbelief and frustration. Yet, the effort revealed something deeper. Even after so many years, the mystery of Jimmy Hoffa continued to captivate. It wasn't just a case, it was a symbol of enduring unanswered questions, a larger-than-life story that refused to disappear. Though Hoffa was gone, his story was not over. When Martin Scorsese's The Irishman premiered in 2019, it reignited widespread interest in Hoffa's disappearance, a mystery that had lain dormant for decades. The film, based on Frank Sheeran's controversial account, claimed that Sheeran had killed Hoffa in a house on the outskirts of Detroit, where the union leader was allegedly murdered and his body cremated. For many, the film renewed intense curiosity about the truth. The portrayal of Hoffa's end seemed to offer a satisfying conclusion to a long-unsolved puzzle. But it didn't take long for the claims to face skepticism. The real-life Sheeran's credibility was questionable, and many experts highlighted inconsistencies in his story. The house Sheeran identified as the murder site was thoroughly investigated, but no concrete evidence was found linking Hoffa to the location. Although luminol tests revealed traces of blood that could not be conclusively tied to Hoffa, adding more uncertainty to an already mysterious case. Despite the disputed account, The Irishman had a significant impact on public perception. It revived interest in Hoffa's case, bringing the mystery to a new generation's attention. The film's success prompted the FBI to quietly revisit their investigation. Behind the scenes, a private group of cold case investigators known as the Case Breakers began pursuing a lead that had been overlooked for years, information left behind by a dying police officer in Wisconsin. This lead would soon reveal an unexpected connection to the case and open new paths for investigation. The clue was hidden on something seemingly trivial, a playing card, the Ace of Spades. The card had black ink scribbled with a cryptic message, Milwaukee Third Base Old Stadium 1995. It was found among the personal items of a retired police sergeant who died in 2020. His family, unsure of its meaning, handed it over to the Case Breakers, a nonprofit team of former law enforcement, intelligence agents, and forensic experts known for working on major unsolved cases. At first, the card seemed like another dead end, a cryptic note with no clear connection to Hoffa's disappearance. But the more the investigators looked into it, the more they believed the small piece of paper might hold the key to the mystery. The phrase third base referred to a location at the old Milwaukee County Stadium, which was demolished in 2001. Though the stadium was long gone, satellite images from the late 1990s revealed something unusual: disturbed clay near the third base area. The disturbance looked unnatural, as if the ground had been dug up and quickly refilled. This oddity prompted a deeper investigation. What the team discovered next was potentially groundbreaking. The unusual soil beneath the third base area suggested that something or someone may have been buried there. Could this be Hoffa's final resting place? The case breakers were determined to find out, and as they gathered more evidence, pieces of the puzzle started coming together. What once looked like a discarded clue was now gaining new importance, possibly reshaping everything known about Hoffa's disappearance. The search was on, and the shadows of the past were stirring once more. The investigators knew they had to move quickly. Time was limited, and the truth might be closer than anyone expected. Right beneath the ballpark, the investigation team narrowed their search to a seemingly ordinary piece of land near American Family Field, home of the Milwaukee Brewers. The site had long been thought of as nothing more than a parking lot and a little league field, but it held a hidden secret below its surface. A youth baseball diamond, built in 2002, now stood directly where Milwaukee County Stadium's third base had once been. Today, it echoed with the sounds of children playing, but beneath the cheerful surface was a layer of history waiting to be uncovered. The tip had been clear. Jimmy Hoffa's body might be buried somewhere near that ballpark, specifically in the area that had once been third base. The investigators were now focused on testing whether this theory held any weight. Using the latest technology available, they employed ground-penetrating radar (GPR) to scan the area for any signs that could confirm the rumors. As the radar swept the soil, the readings first showed a consistent layer, normal for the site. But as the radar moved over the third base area, something unusual appeared, a small but distinct anomaly. A dense, compacted clay layer was detected below the surface, with sharply defined edges. The radar signature was highly irregular and clearly out of place. The type of anomaly they uncovered was not